routines.
Absolutely.
Just getting up, going to work, and being at home.
Yeah.
Be great.
With normal temperatures.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And no mass.
I just don't ever recall for that long a period temperatures like that.
Yeah, me either. That shouldn't happen in Kansas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In Texas, what's going on in Texas is unbelievable.
Oh my God. Can you imagine? I heard this morning that one person was going to have a $2,000 electric bill for 2 days.
Oh, that's crazy.
I just can't even process that.
Right.
Ugh.
Yeah, I called my brother yesterday, and we're from the Northeast, so I called him, and we have a weird relationship, a lot of animosity, but you know, and he's younger than me, but he's a lot cooler than me too. But I was like, you should be thriving. Like this is our climate, right? Like you should be out there like a spear, like just collecting food. And you know, Mom used to take us camping all those times where it was wicked cold out, and you should just be ready for this. And then like, kind of making a joke, and he was just, we got our food outside, and now it's too warm to keep our food outside, but the electricity isn't on. Like it just feels like this sad, pathetic situation for him. And I don't mean to say it because it's funny, but it means like, wow, like he's one of like the most easygoing guys I know, and he's pretty stressed. So I can just imagine what folks who, how other people are dealing with it too. But I guess they're still out of electricity. And I guess also, there was some panic shopping and like there's no food. Like people did a run on some of the, grocery stores. Like,
man, I've never seen that many people have water coming into their homes, this kind of stuff. I mean, it's just, it's unreal.
Because I bet the houses aren't built for that type of frost. So,
Now, some of our best friends live in Houston, and he was saying all of their pipes are in the attic because, their houses are built for the heat to go out.
Right.
And so, yeah, they've had frozen pipes, their water heater broke, they're lucky. That's it. But.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. My dad's a carpenter in New Hampshire and gives me terrible advice on stuff. I did my own, for better or worse, I did my own sprinkler system. I've deemed myself now able to put in sprinklers. And
are you free this summer?
Well, this is the problem. My dad's like, you gotta bury those lines 16 inches in the ground. And then I realized because I talked to him and he's, because the ground's gonna freeze. You can't have the ground freeze. And and then I'm like, well, our ground doesn't freeze. So of course I go down 4 inches. And now I'm pretty sure that I'm going to have a conversation with my dad about how right he was, because the one time I didn't take his advice, the ground froze and my makeshift sprinkler system is probably just in shambles. So tough times, but Wichita, we got through, knock on wood, fairly well. We had a couple of days of problems. I did talk with Evergy, about, because we were supposed to be shut off for a half an hour, right? And my zip code was one of the places that had over 3 hours, and I talked to a woman had over 10 hours. I guess what was happening was they were doing these controlled shutdowns, and during that time, or during the last few years, people were converting from gas furnaces over to electric furnaces, particularly in apartment buildings and businesses and residencies. And so when Evergy shut everything down, they just kind of hit the switch back on, and that immediate burst of demand would blow the fuses. And because they just did it, and it took them a while to figure out what was going on. They thought they had a line or some issue on their end, and it was just they didn't anticipate that in some of those areas you needed that as soon as you hit the electricity on, it was going to just be that bigger burst. So I guess they had to switch the fuses or do something, but not good, but definitely not as bad as we're seeing in some of these other areas. So it could have been worse, even though it was still pretty bad. I can't say that as mayor, right? Could have been worse, right? Even though it really, we could have had it like I said, I think a lot worse, like Texas. Some of these
yeah, thank God it didn't get that bad.
These are all live.
Stop it.
Oh. Yes. Oh, good. Yeah, come on in. Do you have your laptop? Cool. Where you can go onto the cities. This is my intern Ariel. You can go onto the cities. What is it? Their YouTube page if you want to get in and watch our Small Business Council meeting.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I mean, if not, you can hear it from here. So, all right, it's about 5 minutes after. I think it's usually our start time. I think we have most of the folks on. So, but everyone's okay, like overall with like no real damage, like anyone's pipes freeze or anything. I know we had some problems with that in Wichita, but I don't know the full extent, so.
I'm kind of collaborating with Ashley Till at the White Building. Here, sorry, my video was off, I was eating. And their pipes did freeze, and I think even their meter froze on the street. So the city was out there working on that, but they're good now.
Good.
We had some pipes freeze for sure, but not surprising since we have an outdoor area with, so anyways, it's not that, we'll figure it out. We had a urinal crack, which is probably the most expensive thing to fix.
Yikes. So but the pipes didn't break, they just froze and it's not.
No, they burst.
Oh.
But you're asking the wrong person on what that means in terms of fixing. I don't think it's that big of a deal. Because they're already out. I think that you can access them from outside the building, so it's okay. They're not like underground.
So it could be worse. Well, Burke, while you have the floor, we need a baby update.
Oh, he's super cute and he's sleeping through the night, so I'm lucky.
My kids are like 7, 3, and 5, and they don't even sleep through the night.
Yeah, my 4-year-old does not, but he wakes me up super early.
Yeah, so does mine. And they want to crawl in bed and lean on mommy, so I get the feet. Just wind up kicking me all night. Then mom leaves the bed and goes and sleeps in one of their beds, and the kids are just constantly rotating through, kicking me, trying to figure out where mommy went. But anyways, I'm sure you have a 4-year-old, I think you said, so I'm sure you know what that's like.
Yeah.
I'm on the other end of it, so no one wants to sleep in my bed anymore, and no one wants to wake up. So
that's
winning.
Just enjoy
How'd you do that?
Well, they got old, they don't want to sleep with dad anymore, and they want to sleep in. So I got a teenager. I've got a 13-year-old and a 9-year-old. So it's occasionally my daughter will want to snuggle up, but mainly she wants me to just come to her room and sit with her while she falls asleep. So enjoy it while you can. It's a pain.
She makes you bring her like chocolate and stuff.
Yeah, she's the boss of everything, but she, enjoy it while you can when they want to snuggle. I remember
so
when
crazy that Solly is 13.
I know.
I was just thinking, your babies are not supposed to be that big, Alex.
I know. It's fast. By the way, I've got a bunch of gray hair and I'm balding, so there you go.
That's why his camera's off.
Exactly.
So the one of the few early conversations I had with the chief of police, and I really kind of respect him for this, is he wound up and he followed up with another conversation, like just pretty much meeting him at a event, and he said something about like just throws in like a deep couple of lines about like make sure you don't forget about your family and you spend family time, and then this like a bit like thank you, chief, thank you, and like just a first interaction. Then he followed up later about how when he was younger, he's like, you're in the same position I was 10 years ago, but I really focused too much on my career, and my kids will never be the same size as they were then. And it kind of, it was interesting because he's right, like they grow super fast, and I think you think like, oh, the kids will always be there, can't get rid of the kids, right? And then like, but they will eventually not want to hang out or wrestle with dad or do any of the kind of fun stuff that they do now. So can't take it for granted. And
oh yeah, I'm the most uncool dad, which, you know, breaks my heart because I strive at being cool. But my son certainly does not think I'm cool at all.
Which
he also doesn't think I know anything about music. So there you go.
Ouch.
These young people, man. All right, well, let's go ahead and get started. We're about 11 minutes past. First, welcome everyone. Thank you for being here. Let's go ahead and approve the minutes from February 5th. Is there any discussion on the minutes?
Nope.
Someone raise their hand. No discussion. All right, so there's no discussion. I think it's appropriate. Let's have Sarah make a motion.
Me, Sarah?
Yeah.
Motion to approve the minutes.
Motion to approve the minutes. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Shannon seconds. So all in favor of approving minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Thumbs up. Give the emperor's thumb. All opposed, same sign. All right, the minutes are approved and passed. We're going to get the floor over to Mr. Wayne Bell, who is our COVID relief expert, and he's going to tell us how to get money for businesses who are suffering. Wayne, floor is yours.
All right. Good morning. Good morning again,
Morning, sir.
everybody. Hope everybody's staying safe and really, sympathize with all of you, particularly all of the business owners represented here. Just a bit about the disaster relief that remains available. Through the SBA, of course, we've got the economic injury disaster loans. If any of the business owners here or any of your friends or colleagues that have businesses or even eligible nonprofits or ag-related entities, you can still apply for an EIDL loan. The EIDL loans are capped at $150,000. The SBA Office of Disaster Assistance has capped it there so that they can better leverage, the program funding. Basically, they're trying to reach more eligible businesses and organizations by capping the amount that one entity would be able to receive. But it's a good loan because it is placed on a 30-year term. For eligible nonprofits, the interest rate is 2.75%. For a small business, the interest rate is 3.75%. And on all of those loans, the first year has deferred payments, and there's no penalty to pay off the loan early. So it's a good loan and should be able to help. And if anyone hasn't applied, it's a program I highly recommend taking a look at. Beyond that, we still have the Paycheck Protection Program loans available. The activity nationally has been pretty good, basically about 1.7 billion loans have been made just in, 1.7 million loans have been made just in 2021. So 1.7 million loans supporting approximately $126 billion worth of activity. That's on a national level. In Kansas, it's been about just over 29,000 loans, just again in this year, supporting $1.3 billion worth of loans. So a lot of activity. We're working very close with the lending community. We have a call with the Kansas Bankers Association every Monday where we're answering questions. The lenders, as you all know, so you would apply for PPP through your lender. And so the lenders on the back end, they've got some steps that they have to do. They have to upload documents and information into the lender portal. So they're working really closely with our folks to make sure that we've got their questions answered. And on occasion there are things that are causing loans to not move forward for various reasons. So we're working very close with the lending community to work through the PPP stuff. That program, remember, applications are due by March 31st. and that's for the first and second draw on the PPP program. Then in addition to the Paycheck Protection Program, there are some other things, another program that we're really anticipating, been, conversating with Jesse and Aaron Harkey pretty extensively on this and others, but the Shuttered Venue Operators Grant, that should be available here, pretty quickly. As I understand it, our folks are still working through the program rules and making sure that they've got all of that stuff posted. And then what's happening, obviously this is a new grant program. So you've got the applications and all of, again, all of those details that kind of go behind the scenes. Once that goes live, they've already kind of put out, phases or priorities that, that eligible museum operators and others that will be eligible, they've got a phase basically approach to how they're going to accept applications once they go live. So looking forward to that one. I know there's a lot of questions and be happy to discuss any of those questions. And so that's really kind of a highlight. One last thing for new SBA loans. So under our normal programming for new SBA loans, the other thing that we have is 3 months of payments will be made by the SBA. And that's principal and interest payments. That is made available through the Economic Aid Act. Again, all of these incentives were really a part of, they came out of that stimulus bill that was passed on December 27th. And so that's another good incentive. And any of you who are existing SBA customers, that's another benefit. And if you're looking, if you have an opportunity to expand or if you just need capital, take advantage of this. And that is going to go away probably by the end of this fiscal year, if not before, unless the program funding ends. That'll be in place, I believe, through September. So that's it at the moment, and I'll take any questions that you guys may have.
Questions for Wayne?
Hey, Wayne, this is not for me. This is for somebody else. But it's a question about, I guess, some businesses that received the EIDL loans last year didn't get the advancement, and now they're having some battles back and forth on like that. Have you heard much about this?
Yes. So right now what's happening is for all of those businesses and nonprofits that applied for EIDL Advance, that was capped, if you remember, at $10,000. And it was based on basically $1,000 based on the number of employees they had up to 10. And so there were some applicants that did not receive $10,000 because maybe they were a one-person operation or maybe they had 2 or 3 employees. So what's happening right now is all EIDL Advanced recipients should by now have received a correspondence from the SBA Office of Disaster Assistance advising them on the steps they have to take now to get the difference. So the agency is paying the difference up to $10,000 across the board. And for any that didn't receive EIDL Advance, I'd like to hear from them. There is a reconsideration process that they can go through with the agency. And what we'd like to do is forward you guys the guidance on that. I'll tell you what I'll do as a follow-up to this meeting, Andrew, I'll be sure to send that to the group where there, the steps for reconsideration and how individuals might, who already received an EIDL Advance, how they can pursue getting the difference if they haven't already been contacted by the agency to do so.
Okay, in this specific case, they got the EIDL loan, they had the 10-person minimum, but they just didn't get the advance at all. And so they're trying to figure out with the bank why that happened at least 2 different businesses here in town.
Yeah, well, see, those come directly from the SBA. But yeah, I'd be happy to, I'm going to share some information in general. And then what you can do is always have anyone can contact me offline. I'll put my email address in the chat, which I believe everybody has. So yeah, just reach out to me. If you've got some unusual situations like that, or friends or colleagues, have situations like that, shoot me an email and we'll get it to the right office and try to get you some help. So.
Other questions for Wayne? Hey, Wayne, we got another, I think, stimulus coming down or being talked about right now in DC. Is that going to create other opportunities for small businesses or businesses in general? I should be following that as well, but I figured you probably have your ear to the ground a little more on that.
Yeah, I'm hearing a little bit, but the short answer is yes. I just attended a internal meeting yesterday, which was a national meeting, and it was around. You guys may have heard discussions around navigators, community navigators that would work. I'll give an example. Organizations like the Wichita Chamber or the Hispanic Chamber or the Heartland Chamber. Oftentimes, for various reasons, business owners, and particularly business owners in underserved communities, they may not be comfortable coming directly to the SBA or coming to one of our other partners, but they may work very closely with the Hispanic Chamber or with the chamber itself. And so what's being discussed, and there's going to be funding as a part of the next round of stimulus, I'm certain of it, there's going to be funding that gives resources to these other stakeholders that are working with business owners and in many cases providing technical assistance, but they're not formally getting any funding to deliver, the technical assistance that would be associated with obtaining an SBA loan or a micro loan or some of the other programming. So right now, as a part of the next wave of incentives, there's going to be funding made available for these community navigators who are going to be some of these partners that ordinarily don't receive funding from the SBA or the federal government. Yep. So yeah, there's going to be certainly going to be more resources made available for small business, and that is the whole objective. Is to continue to reach businesses that for various reasons are not plugged in, to our information or may just be intimidated by the process of obtaining and pursuing some of these grants or some of our loans.
Okay, excellent. We'll keep an eye on that. Other questions? Also, I'm just gonna say this now so I don't forget, so that Janet's on a call can remember this for next meeting. We should try to maybe get someone online next meeting, give us an update on the Kansas legislature and what they have pushing through. For example, I have a meeting with a group of folks in the startup community who are very interested in angel tax credits, and that bill, I believe, was debated on the Senate floor yesterday. It's being outside the legislature now, like, it's amazing. Like, when I was there, I thought everyone just kind of knew what was going on, like, because I was in the middle of it, right? Like, oh, I'm sure everyone's following us on Twitter. And even as someone who knows how to find the information, I'm still not fully updated on the progress of some of our bills that would be helping big businesses and small businesses here in Wichita. So, if folks want, and I think there might be some value us having a bit of an update from a legislative perspective next meeting, and if during that time, if folks have questions about anything happening at the state level, can send them in, and we can make sure that either our lobbyist or we might even get maybe Andrew from the chamber or someone who's been following this stuff closely. We can make sure we can touch on any of the legislation that people on this call might be particularly interested in. So I think we could do that next time around as Wayne keeps giving us updates on what's happening at the federal level and how it affects us. Having a state level update might also, I think, be beneficial. So, all right. Cool.
One more
Yes, sir.
thing. I'm gonna drop a link to a session that's coming up regarding the Wichita Water Project. So for any business owners that are in construction related industries, I know they are still actively looking for sources and contractors that can do work on the Wichita Water Project. So I'm going to drop the link to that information session here pretty quickly. I just have to go to my email and pull it over, and just encourage you guys to, and if you could just share it. If you don't have, if it doesn't apply to your business, but you know others that does apply to, particularly any women-owned businesses or minority-owned firms, please share the information so that they can at least compete for work on that project. Thank you.
I just want to chime in. I threw in a link to a proposed bill that's going to be looked at, the Restaurant Act of 2021. So just take a look at that and advocate for it if you believe in the extra more pointed things for our industry. And then on that tax credit that you mentioned, the angel investor tax credit, you can actually advocate for that. Several different organizations have ways for you to communicate your interest in seeing that. And I know I did. The Chamber put out an email last week or earlier this week, and I clicked the link and said, I support this. So, and if you don't know anything about that, you should just absolutely support it. It's an amazing program that gets people to move and invest money in this community, which we have a terribly, terribly bad track record of. And so we take away the incentives and people just will not give their money. So yeah. And I can point to people who know a lot more about it than I do.
Yeah, but Andrew makes a good point. It's very easy to be, what's called proponent of a piece of legislation with the legislature. You can send an email or a letter. If you know that something's coming up in committee, anyone can be a proponent. Anyone can actually show up and talk to it. Don't do that now. I think they even have, or now are accepting people from Zoom to come in and testify in committees. I think for some reason we think it would take a lot, or you have to be a real specialist to show up in front of a hearing, and you might in Congress, but at the state level, it's more open than that. So we do want, and frankly, some people who aren't knowledgeable about whatever the bill is, who are on a committee, they will make a decision based on how many people are in support of it versus how many people are against it. So that does actually, it does actually hold weight. Thanks,
That's
Andrew,
what our
for
law has always told us, is that it actually, this is on the federal level, but I would assume it applies to the legislators listen more if it's not someone who's doing this professionally, if it's just a community member. So I am now a large proponent of bugging people
of
the state
yes.
level. So I don't know. I think it seemed to work in our case.
Yeah, I think people would be surprised at the power of citizen organizing and citizen lobbying to get stuff done. Especially, I think we look at a lot of kind of the hot issues where legalizing marijuana, for instance, or that type of stuff where citizen involvement has been around for a long time and we haven't seen much progress on something like that. Those usually more activist type issues are one thing, but when it comes to House Bill 21 something that is particularly targeted for angel tax credits or something, that's a lot less emotionally charged, and members are looking really for a reason to support it or for a reason not to support it. And so we could be very influential on some of the stuff that actually I think really helps the community more so than just surface wise. So and we can, like I said, I'll try to, between now and then, get someone who can give us an update. We have lobbyists. We have a lobby squad, if you will, that we pay from the city, who could probably get on a call and help us. And also our friends at the Chamber, Andrew was on a call should know this. One of the business groups yesterday, and Andrew gave us an update. I think it was yesterday or the day before. Andrew gave us an update on where things were legislatively. He's also someone we could probably tap, and he'd probably be happy to get on this too. So not to volunteer him or anything, but I'm, pretty much we're all on the same page when it comes to making sure Wichita gets what they need. So, all right. So we got a few links up in the chat if folks haven't checked that out yet. There's some good stuff there. I'm going to talk a little bit about, was anything else for Wayne? Cool. I'm going to talk a little bit about ethics reform and really just try to give you guys a bit of an overview of what we're trying to do. And I'm doing this for a couple of reasons. One, our city council is interested in putting this topic to their DAB board, their district advisory board. Those are members within their district that they appoint to help advise them on certain stuff. You guys are the closest thing I have to a DAB board. You're my you're my advisory group, and I know that the economy is front and foremost. So a lot of the stuff we talk about is economic, and I think that this discussion with ethics reform actually helps us economically. And I'll get into that a little bit, but I want to get into the actual mechanics of what the policy we're proposing is, and just talk a little bit about that so that over the next few weeks when we hear more about it, and I'll give you an update on the process. When we hear more about it, I want folks to kind of understand what we're really trying to do, policy-wise and process-wise, opposed to getting into, I think, some of the more almost lower-hanging fruit that I think the media picks up on, that it distracts from actually what the process we're trying to get. So right now, City of Wichita, we have our ethics policy for elected officials. As you know, we can't be fired. Elected officials cannot be fired by anyone except for the people, by losing an election or through what's called an oustering process through the DA. The district attorney has to rule that a elected official behaved, there's a particular description, but pretty much in a manner that was unbecoming, like dishonest. Doesn't have to be illegal, but it's right up to the line of almost illegal activity. Now, the DA almost never can reach that point without some type of investigation. So at the City of Wichita, usually when a DA kind of, at least in recent history, gets to the point where they're investigating someone for a potential ouster, it's due, or investigating for someone really for anything, it's due to a investigative process that's happened either by the media. So the media would go through and connect the dots and report about something, or through a private lawsuit where details become public. And that's when we see the DA pretty much exercise what so far has been one of the only accountability measures that elected officials have at the local level. Now at the state level, there is the Kansas Ethics Commission that governs state elected officials. And they didn't, when they created that, and they also govern campaign finance. Now the state level, the Kansas Ethics Commission did not include cities when that legislation was passed. And one of the reasons for that is, well, it would really blow up their budget, right? Like it would absolutely blow up their budget. Now they have to not just regulate all state elected officials, but also cities. And also there's some philosophy there that some cities predate the state. So cities are not an entity of the state. Counties are. The state has created counties, but some cities have been here longer than Kansas has been a state. So the idea, so home rule, which is the idea that we can govern ourselves on certain things, is pretty strong culturally in our Kansas government system. So we only fall under the Kansas Ethics Commission for campaign finance. Each city also now has their own what's called ethics policy to keep the officials in line. So on ethics policy, there is really a few different types that we see throughout cities that look like us. The first type is the one we have. It's the aspirational category. Pretty much it says like you need to live up to these standards. It's like a mission statement. And if you don't live up to the standards, really there's no way to discipline or remove a member besides maybe the ouster process, which we already talked about, usually as a result of some type of investigation, or the board, the body, can vote to censor someone. can vote to pretty much tell this person that they are embarrassing. But there's no mechanism for removal without the ouster process, which also can be done through citizens. Citizens can get a certain percentage of signatures and ask the DA to investigate. Now, cities that have kind of grown to the position that I think Wichita wants to be have other mechanisms that allow for that investigation process to happen with an elected official, or a board member for the elected official. And this gets us into what Carly Miller in Florida, she's a fellow at Harvard. She's ranked one of the best lawyers in Florida. Really, her body of work has been in ethics reform at the local level. She has identified 4 levels of ethics policy, or 4 pillars that makes good ethics policy. One of them is what we already have. We have a little bit of, which is that statement. This is the aspiration we want you to stand to be. It's the first level. These are the tenets, right? Like this is like, I shall not take bribes. That's what this is. The next level that we don't have that I'm hoping to put in place is an officer, a pretty much non-political, biased person who's knowledgeable in this field, either an academic person or a legal person who can pretty much tell the difference between a real complaint and a non-real complaint, and decide also to give advice on like education advice for elected officials. So if I needed to call someone and say, hey, I got offered a plane ride to Topeka, does that count as a gift, right? Like, does that violate our policy if I jump on this private plane to go to Topeka because someone said they're already going anyways? The officer would be able to issue an opinion in good faith. The next level is a non-biased or an independent board who can actually investigate and render judgment on someone who's been accused of having a unethical behavior. So that's the third one. That's the pretty much elected official does something questionable that violates that first, the statement, violates the code of conduct. The officer agrees, like, okay, this should be looked into. The officer then gets together the board of folks who are going to serve pretty much as a jury. And they're supposed to be we want to make it as independent as possible. The jury gets together, and under the policy that I presented to the council and worked on, would have the power to issue a fine. Pretty much would have the power to investigate, say, yeah, you messed up. You'll be fined either $100 or up to $1,000. But what the real trigger of that is that during that investigation process, if evidence comes out that shows that this person reaches the level that the DA would be interested in, it could actually trigger the DA doing an ouster proceeding, right? Like, or it could be a corrective measure where you take $100 fine and now you have to take an online class on something. Like, it's a corrective. Let's get all back in the same lane. And then the fourth part that has been identified that we also are missing is a whistleblower protection. So whistleblower protection would work where, let's say Jesse, let's say the Harkeys want to do business with the city, and they are doing business with the city. And I call them and say, hey, I need you to launder $5,000 into my wife's nonprofit, which I'm going to launder then into an LLC, and I'm going to go buy something with it. If you don't have a whistleblower policy that says we will not retaliate against people who report this stuff, then someone like the Harkeys or anyone who does business with the city might not feel like they can report this without losing money, right? Without losing their position. And it allows electeds to have a level of leverage, while also without having, kind of this, and that's a whistleblower policy, but without having these boundaries in place. Also, someone who wants to do business with the city might present something to an elected official that isn't appropriate, but they might not know it, right? Like, unless you have kind of those bumpers up, we don't want someone coming in and offering, oh, hey, I got this vacation house over in Florida and I'm not going to use it this summer, so here are the keys for you and your family. By the way, I have a contract with you coming up for renewal. Like, that's the stuff we want to avoid, right? So there's two-way protection with this, where if people who are doing business with the city are approached to do something that is unethical, they have repercussions to be protected if they report it, but also to have that investigated. It's protections for the elected officials, because if elected officials pretty much commit a foul, it gets them back on track instead of kind of pushing the envelope further and further, which I think we've seen. Now, Site Selection Magazine has actually put out an article saying that after COVID, there will be 5 major changes in how businesses will select where to do business. And one of the top 5 is strong ethical policy, is being able to do business in a city where the local leaders are ethical and actually have mechanisms in place where there's really less shenanigans. So this is one of those policies I think will actually help us attract and retain businesses. And on the campaign trail, I heard some of this where even the perception of doing business with the city, some folks think that they really don't have time to put in a contract and even fight for it because they think that we have preferred folks we deal with only, and that will, they don't stand a chance unless they wine and dine us. So I wanted to get that out where the, when we talk about ethics policy in the future and what I'm going to look for feedback on, there's a real economic benefit to this. There's an image benefit to ensure that the city is up to the same standards as cities we want to compete with. And also, it's not anything that's ever been dirty or looks dirty with the city or elected officials are going to come out in every single story that they write about this, right? Like, they actually have not talked about the 4 pillars identified by best practice and by academia as being needed for good ethics policy. Like, the media has not done a very good job, I think, in getting out the actual mechanics of the policy, but instead more of, I think, some of the reasons why folks think we need the policy. So I think we got to get the conversation back towards what is actually the process we're trying to do, which I think many of you, if you work for businesses, you already have some type of due process in place if someone violates company policy. And it's probably something similar, just with electeds. It has to be a little more public and transparent. It has to be stuff just a little different. But that's what we're trying to do at the city level. And I think that once it's done, it's going to be, it's going to put us in a stronger position for really attracting businesses, but also make folks who want to do business with the city feel a little more secure that they can do business without being, at a more fair level playing field. So that's roughly what we're trying to do. We worked on this for over 7 months. And then now had a bit of a blow up at one of our meetings about it, because I think the discussion got into campaign finance and also for some reason moralism, which is different than really the legal process of ethics implication. It really kind of got sidetracked, and it's very easy for this to get sidetracked. But Brandon Johnson has reached out to some of his contacts with the National League of Cities, with mayors who have done this, who have tried to enact new policy and modernize their policy. They are going to take a look at the policy that we have currently as an offer that we've been working on, and they are going to pretty much render a judgment on it and help us hopefully get it to a point where folks are comfortable voting on it. And we are projected to have a vote on this May 9th is the goal. And like I said, it's been over 7 months since we've had our first public workshop on this. So we've done more on this. We've taken more time on this than we have our budget. We've taken more time on this than we have our the creation of the ordinance for the diversity, inclusion, and civil rights committee. We are taking a huge amount of time on this for some reason. So I'm ready to kind of push it forward and make sure that we have it in place, and then move on to bouncing back from this, from the COVID economy. So that's what I'm hoping to get to. But again, this is still taking a little longer. We want to get it right, of course, but I also want you guys to know what we're looking for and also be open to feedback, not just on policy, but also feedback on perception, because perception's real. So are there perceptions of folks who want to do business with the city, let's say, but feel like they can't because they don't have, I guess, a inside. And, you know, if that type of stuff too would, I think, help maybe create avenues to ensure that folks, you know, we're more transparent with how folks apply for contracts and stuff. So that's roughly where I'm at with it. So I'll open up to questions if anyone has any.
Why is this such a pain in the ass? Oh, sorry. Why is this such a pain in the butt to get done? It just seems so simple to me from the outsider, but it seems just, I don't get it.
So I think it's cultural. It's a couple things. First off, we had 4 elected officials lose their position one way or another because of unethical behavior, or what was perceived as unethical behavior. And a lot of those people were friends of people in here. And so there is a somewhat of a personal, almost, when I talk about this, I have to talk about it in a way where, like, I'm not accusing you of anything, right? Like, there's a personal kind of deflection of, we're not doing anything wrong, so this isn't a big deal. So we don't have to push on this. And we also, you know, kind of offended you bring this up. But the reason why I'm really good at understanding Kansas ethics policy at the state level is because I was a state official and I knew that I should know this stuff, right? Like, so it kept me kind of in line with what is expected, what isn't, what are the rules with lobbyists and so on, because I knew it was there, so I read it. It's not because I was in trouble. And by putting this in place, we have to communicate to our elected leaders that this isn't about you personally or accusing you of anything or anything in the past. This is about putting these bumpers in place so the future council members, the future people who want to do business, read the rule book pretty much. Because now we're putting this in the rule book, and there's less interpretation of what those rules are. Now, I grew up as a Patriots fan, so I know all about folks who utilize the rule book for their own advantage, right? Like, you know, Belichick will interpret something a certain way. He will make it, that is how he's going to do it for the whole season. And then the next season they change the rules. So Belichick can't do this one thing again. So like nothing's perfect, of course, but just by putting strong ethics policy in place, and this is what I got to communicate more, it is to deter that type of behavior happening in the future, particularly with new members just coming in. They come in with that mindset that this is the boundaries. But why is it a pain in the ass? I think it's also because folks here somewhat take it personal as well, because it is a cultural shift, and it's very easy to feel like you're being accused, I guess. I mean, that's been my read on it. And also you get some of that like kind of small town, small city attitude where the voters hold me responsible and no one here can because I'm elected, so I'm above the law. Well, yeah, in small towns, if you do something silly, everyone knows about it, right? Like if you are a certain way in a small town, like it's very easy for people to find out about it. Like this is not a small town. Like we are a top city. And so having process in place, I think we got to kind of fight against that attitude as well, where we should have the same type of policy that the cities, or better policy that the cities that we're competing against have. And I think that it's cultural, I think, as well. But once it's done, it's done. Like, just like with the legislature, once they passed it, every official that came in after them understood this was now the culture and the boundaries, and it was no problem. But I'm sure passing it was tougher. So, but I also think it's silly, like, because part of me thinks that like we should get this done and close the door on this chapter and focus on stuff that people get excited about, positive stuff that we can be doing to, because every time we talk about this, I think people think about negative stuff. And so I just want to get it done, and I'm confident with the policy, but you know, I also have to sell it to the people who I need to get votes. So, all right, other discussion on this. So just over the next month or so, if you think of anything or have any feedback, I'd love to hear it. Also, you know, I want to make sure we get out to you all, and I do this on my Facebook as well. Like, what we're looking for in policy is those 4 pillars. If we can agree on those 4 pillars and then get into the details, I'd love that. But I think that we actually went backwards a little bit, where folks wanted to go to just a more detailed value statement instead of, ensuring that we have an officer, an independent board, and a whistleblower policy. Like, without those 3 added to the first one, we I think wind up in the same spot we are. And frankly, the media, if we don't have a good, strong policy, we're not going to get any points. Like, the media is going to rip us apart, and we're not going to put out a better image for businesses who might relocate here. So, all right, cool. All right, so I think we're done with this, because I think over in the chat, you guys are talking about artists and shows and stuff. So, okay, sorry for boring you too much with this, but I wanted you guys to be up on that in case there was any feedback. Because like I said, you are the closest to a dab I have. I do want to make a quick update on COVID, and then we'll go ahead and probably wrap up with anything else people have, because we're getting close to the hour. So as you guys know, or you might know if you follow this, we are using our old library as a COVID vaccination station. That's going to be really, I think, a good thing, because it's not competing with the ice arena has other stuff going on there as well. Also, in the calls I've been on, although this week has been the exception because of the weather, we have been getting about 40,000 shots per week here in Kansas, and those are going to jump up to about 80,000 shots. So it looks like we will be doubling our supply starting next week, which is going to be a really big deal in getting folks vaccinated. Also, Johnson & Johnson, this is not rumor mill, but kind of take this with a grain of salt, I guess. I don't even know what that phrase means, but and we all know what it means, right? Like, take this with a grain of salt. Johnson & Johnson, if they get approved and actually have their supply chain doing what it should be doing, which I guess we have reason to doubt their supply chain's good, their shot's going to come online, and that's the one that might be going out to pharmacies. And the reason why is the Johnson & Johnson shot is a different technology. It's pretty much like, and I'm not a useful doctor at all, or medical doctor, but it sounds almost like kind of a Trojan horse type virus that they put COVID stuff in. And so it's a different technology than it's more traditional technology. And that means it doesn't need ultra freezing. It doesn't need these like really crazy freezers to store, which means like the Walmart pharmacies, the Dillon's pharmacies can actually store it using their current stuff. So what will likely happen, if I was to predict this, is that we're gonna have Johnson & Johnson online. We'll probably get Oxford, if they ever get together, the AstraZeneca Oxford one that is approved by WHO and over in Europe. That's also a different technology. Johnson & Johnson is a game changer because it's a one shot. It's not 100%, it's like 100% against dying, I guess, where like getting symptoms and stuff, like you might, it's better than the flu shot, but not as good. We got kind of spoiled with the our RNA technology with the Pfizer and with the Moderna, because that's like 90-something%. This, I think, it's lower than that, the Johnson & Johnson shot, but it's only one shot. It doesn't take the 2. And so that will likely get out. They are, I think, on the 26th is when they are looking to get their approval, their emergency approval from the FDA. If that gets out and hits, it's going to be a game changer, like I said, because you don't need the same type of equipment as you normally would for the Moderna and for the Pfizer shots. So what will likely happen, and like I said, I'm just predicting the future here during COVID, which is like something we never want to do. But what will likely happen is that the Johnson & Johnson and Novavax, if they get online, if Oxford gets online, those will likely be the retail ones, the ones that you can get at doctor's office and pharmacies. The majority of Americans live within 5 miles of a pharmacy, so that's going to be a game changer. While the Moderna shots and the Pfizer shots are likely going to come through the current governmental channels because they already invested in the freezers. So we'll likely have a mix of both of those. That would be huge. If we get that by, I think the feds, think we might have this by May or June at least, where we will have more of these opportunities for people to go and get vaccinated. Then that will, and we'll likely have a mix of this. Some people are asking why Sedgwick County is at 70 years and up versus other counties that are like 65 years and up. And I just want to give sort of an answer to that. I don't work for Sedgwick County, although everyone thinks that we're the same thing. We're not. But my understanding is based on population and shots coming in. We are about 21% of the state's population, but we're getting about 7% of the shots coming in from the state. So we have more people. The population of folks in their 70s and above is a closer match to the supply than 65 and above, right? So I think we're catching up though, and it seems when I'm in those conversations, we are catching up to get down to 65 because we're getting more shots. So it's not so much that it's more of a supply than it is a distribution issue. We just don't have the same supply that we need to match demand, but we can distribute this, and with the library, with the drive-through, we are getting there. Also, just want to point out that all of our medical facilities and medical folks should be vaccinated by now if they wanted a vaccine, which means that is going to make our hospitals capacity. We're actually in the green now for the first time in months. Hospital capacity wasn't just about beds, but it was also about make sure you had staff. And now the staff is not getting sick as much. And also the folks who are above 65, we have less of those folks getting sick. And so we have better hospitals now. So if folks do go out and get sick, we want you to be able to see a doctor. You have a better chance of seeing a doctor now. So that's kind of the update. It's looking good. It's pretty much not great, but it's looking good. It's pretty much where we're at right now. So just wanted to give you all that. If there's any questions, I can take it. Jesse.
And this has to do with county information, so I have no idea if you will actually.
I'm the mayor of Sedgwick County.
Yeah. Okay. So I obsess about the county numbers because that's going to affect what I do with my business this summer. And so I have noticed that the information for like testing averages on the county website varies from what I find on like the New York Times website. And it seems a little bit of a significant number. Like on the county website, it says we're testing at like 5.6%, whereas New York Times says we're closer to 9%. So, and then I know that's, if we get under 5% for an extended period of time, then the mask mandate falls away. And so this is impactful what my plans are. So which is correct, or, how?
So you actually bring up a whole bunch of confusion that normal people have with this. So, but you're bringing up good points. Like we got to address this. So when I say county, I'm referring to the county health department. Everyone in the government is referring to county health department, but everyone who's normal thinks regionally, right? Like the county as a region is only getting this much shots. However, we actually have shots coming in from independent supply chains, thanks to MedCorps, thanks to the VA is not getting their shots out of that 40,000 doses or whatever that comes to the state. They get it straight from the government. McConnell Air Force Base gets their own supply. Hunter Health Clinic gets their own supply. So when you look at the numbers of those who are vaccinated on the county website's probably the best data, but I don't know if it doesn't include these other supply chains, right? These other clinics who are getting it. So the New York Times one, if it's higher, might actually include those.
No, I'm sorry, I should have clarified. I'm not talking about vaccination rates. I'm talking about positive test rates. Yes. So yeah, like New York Times says we're testing at almost 9% positives, whereas the county website is like 5.6. So I like to look at the county website more. I prefer to rely on that, but I just, I want to be fully aware of what our community is working with.
So my understanding is I trust the county website, to be honest. And the county website does have some differences with the KDHE website as well. Particularly some of those differences are deaths, where KDHE will count people who likely died of COVID, but died before they got a COVID test. While county website will only count people who tested people who tested for COVID and died after testing positive for COVID. So there is some discrepancies, but also look for the rolling average. Like county, we're doing a 14-day rolling average. I'm not sure what New York is doing. So our 5.6.
Yeah, so that's where I'm super confused.
Right, and I've checked New York Times, but our 14-day rolling average, and it fluctuates, right? Because you can get if you sample like the jail and dump all that data, then it jumps. But we have a 14-day rolling average for that 5%. 5.9% is where we're at. But also I'm going to throw this in there where with the mask ordinance expiring, if we're under 5%, that's actually was the city's mask ordinance, which already has expired. We're now under the county's mask ordinance. I'm not sure if they have a shutdown in their policy or not. But one of the things we have to keep in mind is the new variants that are more contagious. So if we approach this with our understanding of this virus from the summer, which like, hey, community spreads down below 5%, so we can let up on mass, we might get hit really hard faster because we might now allow this more contagious variant to spread faster. So we do know there's about 4,000 variants of COVID right now. Most of the time, the variants are getting good. Our dominant variant in our country is actually a mutation that came from Italy, and not from China. And in Italy, it mutated and it became more contagious. South Africa's variant actually became more deadly. So we still got to kind of be agile with the policy because the pieces on the board change, right? Like if we're down under 5%, cool, but what percentage of that is the new, more contagious variant? We already have someone in Sedgwick County who already is tested for that new variant. Because if it is more contagious, then we might have to go down even more. But yeah, just sorry, like it's just a whole bunch of, it's tough to predict. The only thing we can predict is utilizing the effect that vaccination is going to have on this. Vaccination and mask are the two variables that have just been linked to slowing this thing down and getting it where it needs to be. So we're in a much better spot than we were last year, where as more vaccines get out, it's the more likely you guys will be able to get back by this summer. Will you still be asking people to wear masks? Probably. I mean, that's probably going to be the difference, but you will likely be back to doing stuff so long as some crazy variant doesn't start like rippling through. And even if it does, we'd see it. Like this whole thing works almost like a weather forecast where you kind of see it coming at you because we're in the middle of the country. So the data would show if something's growing, unless it grew here. Does that help? That was a lot. Sorry.
I appreciate it. Like I said, I'm just obsessing on all of this because we have to plan like 3 months out. So I'm trying to figure out what to anticipate, which is, I have no idea, but I'm trying to pretend like I do.
But it's super hard too, because like all of us on this call, like the reason why you're on this call here is because you're in an industry that was hit really hard with this. And so having, I guess, hope that things are going to be better, like we're all very cautious of that, right? But we do know that COVID right now is down 20% this week than it has in previous weeks. Like we're heading in the right direction. We just don't know if that's because we're getting a handle on this thing or because we're done meeting for Christmas. So that's one of the things is, can we get back to normal now? Like if we meet or get back somewhat in groups, can we do that safely? Or, is it because it's an ice storm? So this week's going to be better than a couple of weeks ago because people didn't go out. So yeah, I mean, all I know is that we got to probably be pushing the vaccines a little more than we are. And once we have more of those available, I expect us to be in a much better spot because that's like the one variable that's been showing to that and mass is the two things that have just shown to start just taking these numbers down. So, all right, anything else on COVID? And sorry for going a little long on it. COVID has been like, the thing I've been studying all year. So it's kind of consumed my entire job. So I get really interested in the different stuff happening with vaccines and the science. But so next meeting, let's try to get someone from the state or talk to us about state stuff. In the meantime, if you guys have any stuff at the state level that you're interested in getting an update on, let me know. Also, if you have any feedback on the policy stuff we're trying to do with ethics policy, let me know. But I do think that we're going to be in a good spot with that. I think we'll hopefully be able to handle that policy without too much drama. And if there's anything else that we want to get an update on, let me know. If someone actually did want to talk to an expert on COVID, either next meeting or the meeting after, I can probably get someone on. So if update on vaccinations or any of that type of stuff, please let me know. And Jesse, how come we haven't gotten you guys? You guys have a huge spot over there. I'm surprised we haven't approached you and turned you guys into a vaccination center.
You never know what you're going to hear about next from us.
Right.
Give it a few weeks.
We're working on a plan, partnering with another giant medical supplier to do vaccinations. We're doing a test run in Texas. Hopefully we'll have that formalized today. But it's inclusive of about 10 venues in Texas. We're estimating we need 30,000 vaccinations a day within these 10 venues. So we'll see, but it's all dependent on a lot of variables, as you know. But we're hoping that the model will be replicable all across the country. We're starting in Texas, then moving to California, then Pennsylvania, and then hopefully we'll have enough data and information that we can then just plug this in any state that wants it. So, it's going to be venues and a giant national medical firm that has the clinical people that can do this. So,
excellent. Yeah, I think if
and we've been meaning to get a hold of somebody at the county and let them know that if you guys are having discussions, we'll have something hopefully soon, and our spaces are.
Yeah, and the new vaccines are going to probably be a game changer there, because then places like y'all who can probably get the refrigerators to the levels it needs to be. Yeah. I mean, that'd be huge, getting places like that can help out with this. So yeah, that's positive though. I'm glad you guys are working on it, and the industry that you're in is working on it. That's pretty awesome. So I look forward to hearing more about that.
We're really,
hey guys, we're about 8 minutes past, which means we're about 7 minutes early from when we normally stop. Is there anything else? Cool. Well, let's keep the conversation going until next meeting. Next meeting is March 5th. Let me know if there's anything else going on that folks need, or if there's anything coming down that we need to meet about, and we'll get on it. Thank you all.
See y'all.
See ya.